evening. Yay.
Yes, I tell you,
Namaste.
namaste. Looking forward to seeing who comes in today. We've
Yeah.
had people buying. I've threw our thing up on the
Which platform?
Oh crap! The what's it called? It's
Describe
called
it.
Eventbrite. Eventbrite. I had to
Okay.
think.
There's a lot of
And yeah, and I don't know where I'm looking anymore because I'm changed screen. It's on Eventbrite, and I've got it just running week to week. It's just a generic, hey, we're
yeah,
here,
yeah.
and we've had people getting tickets off of that. I don't know how many finally showed up, or so that would be interesting if people are on that have joined us from Eventbrite. I would love to know that.
Let us know.
Yes, happy
Yay.
February, Deborah.
Hi,
Yes.
Deborah. Good
It's
evening.
Groundhog Day after
It's
Groundhog Boxing Day.
Have you boxed your groundhog yet?
Or do you get an Amazon box and put him in there?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, wouldn't that be a good practical joke to send a stuffed groundhog in a box to a friend to be delivered on February 3rd? And when they call you and go, "What is this?" It's Groundhog Boxing Day.
Or have that boxing game where you
Oh, yeah.
rock 'em, sock 'em.
Put little groundhog heads on the rock'em sock'em. See how long it takes for them to get the pun, the joke.
Yeah,
Twisted stuff.
I know. It's just
Evil genius going on in there.
definitely. Well, it's like there's a meme out there with Bill Murray, from Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
And it's going. So it's another day of isolation again. It's like instead of Groundhog Day, it's isolation.
It's 2020 again. Oh,
Yeah.
it's Groundhog Day almost all year for most people.
God, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, the euphemism goes on and on. Or
yeah.
the metaphor, the metaphor goes on and on and on.
Yeah, as long as we don't hear "I got you, babe" all the time, we're good.
Oh,
This is our love.
listen, once a year in that movie, that's it. Bam. But it's a cute movie. That is one that you see more and more every time you can watch it. Except for when they play it back to back on the TMC channel all day.
On Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, they do. They play it for like 12 hours straight. And woo! But there's a lot, they do a good job. There's a lot of little stuff, especially if you look in the background.
Yeah.
There's little things. It's really cute. Yeah.
It is a great movie. So, all right, we're getting started. As far as I know,
People
everything
coming in.
Yeah.
If you're signing in, please say hello. Put something over in the chat or below in the chat and say hi. Let us know you're here.
Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, we love having people here. And we love seeing folks that we have gotten to know come back, but we also love seeing new faces, and we want to get to know you and know who's coming in.
Regulars and newcomers. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So today's topic is let's see, and how what exactly did I name it? I named it
censorship, protection, or deception.
Protection or diversion.
Diversion, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we're talking about censorship, but wanted to put those ideas out there about
what is it?
Yeah, what is it, and how is it used, and when is it deliberate, and when is it not, and
historically what has happened, which affects what's happening now. Yeah.
Yes. So, there's been some stuff in the news lately, and that's why the topic came up. And I said, but there's so much. There's just so much good stuff here. So, I'm looking at my notes so I don't forget what we're doing. Okay. So, censorship. What is it? Yeah.
That's all right. I'm with you.
Hey, Daryl! Oh my God! Hey,
Daryl the Goat. Hi.
Daryl is such a dear, dear friend, and he let me room with him for a while, way back after my first divorce, and he was just such a close friend, and then he moved away to um um Savannah, Georgia. That's where he was originally from, and he lived there for a while. Now he's taking care of his mom in South Carolina. So we keep promising each other when all this is over, we're going to get together again and see each other. But Daryl, God, the stories I could tell about him, I could take a whole show for that.
So Daryl's going to get the drop on you by watching a little podcast. There you go. Good call, Daryl. Get in on her first. There you go. Move it right in.
Oh, but it's good to see. I'm glad you're here on. So anyway, now I'm totally distracted. Okay.
That's all right. So we've got Deborah came in on YouTube. Daryl came in on Facebook. So that
So we
tells
know
us
they're both working.
yeah, both links are working fine. Some people will see this in a recording later on or hear it in a recording later on. So welcome to those listeners too in the future. Yay.
Good
Yeah.
point. Oh,
Yeah.
and I guess I should just, it's something that I forget to do every week, but and let me find where I need to, there it is. Had to find. Yeah. Let's put our names up here for a little bit.
Woo! Let people see
Because
who we are. Yes.
yeah, because that's a terrible assumption to think that they actually know who we are. Oh,
Jackie
hello.
Horner, hello from Greensboro. Jackie, great. And
Yes.
had Jackie if you want in the comments, tell us how you found us.
Yes.
It says you came through Facebook, but we're just curious. Where are people finding out about us, or how do you know one of us? Your name is vaguely familiar to me, but I can't guarantee that.
So,
But
all right. So back to
wonderful.
the topic. Censorship.
Yes.
All right. So when we think of censorship, it's censoring, selecting what is appropriate or not appropriate
For a particular audience.
Yeah, for a particular audience. We think about movie censors that look at the movies and decide, okay, is this something that's safe for kids to watch or family? Is it a G-rated film or is it
A rating system. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that involves censors because they're trying to decide, and a lot of times censors don't tell movie people that you can't do something. They just say if you do it, it'll get an X rating. And so then they go, well, nobody will come see it. And so they take stuff out and well, can I show this much and not this much? And, there's all these deliberations.
There's bargaining. That's actually, that rating system is actually a private business that exercises a lot of control over Hollywood for that reason.
Yeah.
In the editing. Yeah. But you've noticed over the decades that they're getting more and more, let's say, lax.
Yeah. And now they're putting those MP warnings on television shows when it's appropriate for kids and when it's not. And, but again, more and more, anything goes, and you're seeing more and more, and whether it's right or wrong, don't really want to get into that, or at least not at the, but
we're talking definitionally right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The morality is a personal choice. Yeah.
You're right. And, yeah. And, well, I think that's another thing is a lot of the censoring that goes on is dictated by where society is at the moment.
As a collective, right.
Right. And so it's not like, oh, once it's wrong, it's always wrong and nobody can ever see that. I mean, but things are a lot different than they used to be back in the days of Donna Reed and the Cleavers.
Absolutely. I Dream of Jeannie. They used to put a peach divot in front of her belly button on the screen on television. She had a bikini type costume. And if you look, the first couple of seasons, she had no belly button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Lucille
and
Ball was
the
not, they were not.
Ricardos, they had to be in separate beds. You always had to
Hmm.
put your feet. I forget what was the first TV show where two people were in bed at the same
Mike and
time.
Carol Brady,
That's right.
the Brady Bunch, but they were required for the first season that they showed that the both actors were required to keep 1 foot on the ground while they were in the bed. The second season, the two actors said, "Forget that," and they sat normal. They sat normally in the bed, and you can see the kids talking to their parents, sitting in bed, reading magazines, blah blah blah. But in the first
Right.
season, they're both sitting way out on the edge. In the second season, they sit normal
Well,
because of censorship of the time. Yeah.
well, and Lucy was the first pregnant woman on TV.
But you couldn't say pregnant.
No.
Yeah, they couldn't say that word. They would say with child or bun in the oven,
Mm-hmm.
having a baby,
Mm-hmm.
but not the word pregnant. Yeah.
So all those little, we'd like to think that we're more advanced now and can, but then sometimes things come on and you go, what the hell?
Name some of the book titles that are still censored, and your
Oh
point will
gosh,
go
yeah.
home.
Banned Book Week there is a website for it, and you can go to the American Library Association, ALA, to also see a link for the books that are continue to be banned, and they keep a record of any time a book is reported as attempting to be banned or banned successfully, and they'll tell where it is. So, like, you can look up in your hometown and see, and like, I'll look up and I'll see books all the time that are being challenged, and even in Greensboro or Charlotte, and you're like, really, people, come on, wake up. but books, a lot of the classics,
Such as
Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, To Kill a Mockingbird, all because they use the N word. But that
yep,
was appropriate for that time in that book, and it reflects the era.
the culture of the era. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times it's not even like a black person's not complaining about it.
Mm-mm.
It's some other
So
person that just is offended that
a minor authority somewhere has decided, right?
yeah. Catch 22 is one because I think there is homosexuality in it. I believe
Hmm.
is the reason that there was a book, more current books, like there's a children's book written about the two penguins. I think it was either in the Washington D.C. or the New York Zoo. Two male penguins
Adopted a rock.
adopted an egg. Yeah, or I think they adopted an egg, or did they give them an egg? Or
They
I don't
gave
know.
him they gave him a fake egg rock
Ah, okay.
to
And
nurture.
they nurtured it. They were taking care of, taking turns sitting on it and all, but they were a couple. And so somebody
They
wrote this
bonded. Yeah.
yeah. And somebody wrote this adorable children's book about these two penguins. Yep, it gets banned. Um
Harry Potter shows up on list after list after list
it's
for very
Satan. Oh,
for the satanic references and the witchcraft references. And there's a whole there's I've seen like 4 or 5 excuses for it, but the backlash is that people run right to it, to any banned book, even faster, because they want to see what it was that you don't want them to see. So yeah, so censorship and book banning does have a lashback. Yeah,
backlash.
backlash.
I'm the one drinking wine, Margo.
I had too much caffeine late in the day.
But
So
yeah,
to
and
continue,
granted, there's always that thing of the psychology behind, are they deliberately banning something to try to get attention? But
yeah,
in general, people are kind of like, why, or you get the teachers, like the English teachers, that put books on their reading list that parents end up objecting to.
Mhm.
Hey, Margaret, it's me, God. I think that's just been in the news because they're getting ready to make a movie out of it.
You want to say that title of that book again?
Hey, Margaret. No, hey, God, it's me, Margaret.
That was awesome. That was totally awesome.
Hey, Margaret, it's me, God.
Hey, Margaret, it's me, God. Look, we need to talk. I'm not going to wait for you to call me. I'm calling you. Oh, Iris, you now have the name of your next big book. You now have the title. Hey, Margaret, it's me, God.
Oh, even the book Conversations with God has been banned.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the Judy Blume book. Yeah, so look it up.
Okay. Yeah, I know. We're just naming books that we both know of. But what I find interesting is a lot of gay literature. A big one that keeps showing up year after year is called George. That's just the name of the title. But it's about a life in gay culture. And what's interesting is, seriously, people are still banning gay culture based books when in mainstream television, middle of the day, middle of dinner hour, you see commercials that are selling something that two men or two women are obviously interacting in a family gesture or family way. And it's commonplace. Like both men will pick up the same baby and one of them will feed it, or they'll lean in and be cheek to cheek while they're laughing at something on TV. It's very, very, or they're cuddled up with their arms around each other on a couch. It's commonplace. All right.
But there are people who will object to those and create but like their own bans on those products. What do you call it? Boycotts. Yeah. Boycotts on those products. Or people got upset with Cheerios. Do you remember the adorable Cheerios commercial where the biracial girl would, her mother's standing there, I think it's a white mother.
Okay.
And she says, would daddy like some? And she goes in to try to give her dad some, and he's black.
Yeah.
People got pissed off with that commercial. It's like, really?
Really?
Okay.
This isn't 19
biased a little bit here, but
but it's not 1952 anymore.
Yeah. If somebody's in our audience that's offended by the fact that I go, really, then really?
No, yeah, we're discussing our opinions, and maybe it would behoove us at this point to say, yes, this show is obviously based on our opinions, Margot's opinion, Iris's opinion, and we appreciate that you guys want to get in here and learn stuff with us as we discuss it, but it's still just opinion. And like every other good teacher, good guru, good coach, good friend out there, we encourage you to go do your own research if you find something that needs more information for you. Always go do your own research.
And we're always open to discussion. Again, questions, comments, please make them.
We want you to talk to us. Yeah.
But Margot and I both, I'm speaking for Margot here too, but I know her well enough. We're both very loving, open-minded people.
I like to laugh.
Yeah. We poke fun at ourselves and at everybody else. And, so, and in no way would we ever want to dishearten anyone.
Right.
Or to make anybody feel
uncomfortable.
I don't even want to say that, because if we can make them wiggle a little in their seat, that's a good thing.
That's true. We don't want them to feel judged. Uncomfortable is okay.
Yes,
but judged, not so much. Yeah, no. That's not us. That's
not our intention either. And if somebody doesn't like biracial couples, let's talk about it. I get it. I mean, I understand that there are people out there that don't approve, but let's get back to censorship. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep.
Oh,
That's just one point. All right.
bring
Yeah.
that rabbit hole back over here.
Roll it back in.
So the media is one place that gets accused a lot now of censorship. And if you think back to the Walter Cronkite days, and that's the way it
It
is.
is.
Yeah. In those days, news was delivered matter of factly, very straightforward. This is here's the facts, folks, just the facts, and we're not, And even it
Car
was even
51, right?
amazing, huh?
Wasn't that Car 51? Just the
Oh
facts, ma'am.
no, that was Sergeant Friday in
Sergeant Friday. That
oh
was
man,
it was a
Dragnet.
cop show. It was Dragnet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the facts, ma'am. That was how professional media communicated. Just the
yeah.
facts, no opinions, no emotions. Yeah.
And I remember, everybody, you can watch where Cronkite announced about Kennedy being shot, and you can see him tear up, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Walter Cronkite's crying!" Oh, it was a big deal because you just never saw him break form, but it also made him a little more endearing. But he was,
Yeah.
um, but news was carried on that way, for years. But when Reagan was in office, when was that, in the 80s?
Yes.
Yeah, 80s.
You're talking about a protocol. So
Yes, it
that
was a
was the
protocol. The
protocol.
FCC there was some,
There was
and I would
actually
have to look
laws.
it up, and I'm sorry I didn't because I didn't think about it
That's all
until
right, but there were laws up until then. Yeah.
that regulated that news that media outlets could not, news, radio, TV, could not
Bias
interject opinion.
or show bias.
Right. And as I was a journalist, or still am, but I actually worked for a couple of newspapers, and that's the way I was taught, and I always believed, even going into it, but then taught and mentored that, and there were plenty of stories that I wrote that I had to get out of my own head and say, okay, let me play both sides here and get all the information and just tell it like it was, whether I liked it or not. I told both sides, and that was my goal. I felt like I had to understand the story well enough to be able to tell it to other people.
Right.
And at the time, I knew some younger writers because I went to school later as a continuing ed student, and so I was a newbie reporter at a considerably older age than most. But um, I I can remember, like, talking to one of the city managers in one of the places I worked, and I said, I hate bugging you about this, but I'm really trying to understand what's going on with this thing that the council's working on. No, I don't mind. I was sure a joy to talk to. The other guy, I was up till 11:30 with the other paper. I was up till 11:30 telling him about it, and he still got it wrong. So I felt good that they understood that I just wanted to get it right. But
And
again,
that was ethical. That
yes.
was ethical. We're talking about professional ethics here. Yeah.
But when Reagan was in office, he did not renew, or he signed a new bill that said you don't have to do that anymore. Media can, and that's when you started seeing the rivaling political stations and people putting in their opinions more into the news. And now it's done just practically across the board. Even local uh,
It's
reporters will be on the news and go, "Can you believe they're doing that?" Or, you know,
and they use adjectives and call people or ideas stupid or
yes,
preposterous or terrible or wonderful or isn't this fantastic? This just touches my heart. And they say all these really super personal things that I'm like, yikes, that is not why.
When you're
That's not
talking, when you're on
that's
a
not
in a
reporting.
major,
That's a
when
sales
you're
pitch. That's not a report. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
When you're on a major television station, like think about like New York or Charlotte or Greensboro, where you might have 500,000 viewers or millions of viewers,
right.
and you're injecting your personal opinion and saying, "Isn't this wonderful? Oh, I wish I could help that little boy," or "I wish I," and then suddenly everybody flocks to that GoFundMe
That
page, and
charity, right.
yeah, and it's like you got to take responsibility when you're
Selling something.
yeah,
When you're selling something, when you're selling an idea or yeah, selling a concept.
yeah, especially on a platform where people take everything as the gospel.
Which is what's going on now. People are no longer have the exposure to discern between an opinion and a fact because
Yes.
it's all presented as fact, period, even
And
bias,
but in a nice, friendly, conversational way.
right?
Way. We're gonna bring
Which
you
is
in.
salesmanship. That's nothing but salesmanship. Yeah. You're being sold an idea, and that's the purpose. That's what they're trying to do, and they're achieving it very well. But that's one part of censorship. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Now I'm going to engage and go up a level on this, or should I say down a level? We're going down a little bit. There's a
Right.
rabbit hole.
Let's dig in there.
I put my bunny ears on.
There you go.
Um, the it is proven fact. I'm not making this up. Look it up for yourselves. 90% of the world's media outlets are owned by six people. Six. When you think there is a CEO, somebody in charge of the ultimate, when you go all the way up, then you're going, whoa, six people. All the and even when I was in
And
media,
some of those people are related.
uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
go look it up.
go look it
90%
up.
go 90% of broadcast companies, magazines, newspapers, television, internet are owned by six private companies.
And even 20 years ago, I was witnessing how it was like fish in a pond, like one media company would buy another media company that would buy another that would buy another. I worked,
Buyouts. Yeah.
Marco's family owned the newspaper that I used to work for. We didn't, this was long before we knew each other.
We didn't know each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And right as I went into work for them, they had just gotten bought out by Media General,
By a bigger conglomerate.
a
Right.
bigger conglomerate. And they were like a family run paper, I think, at the time, more
Yes.
locally published. So here comes Media General, and they gobble them up. And then here comes Gannett, and they bought up Media General. And here you go. So, it climbs up the ladder, and you have to really look at who
Pay
owns what
attention.
companies. I did some work one time for a woman.
Who
I met
owns
her
your
at
news? Who
do what?
owns your news? Go, yeah,
Yeah.
look it up. Who owns the news you're subscribing to?
And
Yeah.
when you see that there are other companies that have interest, if they own a pipeline or gas company or something like that,
That's a good
they
point.
they may or may not want certain news to go out. And when you start hearing this station repeat what that station says, it's a clue that they've been given the script. And even sometimes the media people behind the scenes will say, well, why we're saying this, but it's been handed down. We're not saying that the local newscaster is some, you know,
Brainwash, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people are doing very innocent work out there. They're reporting local news, whatever. But
They're
when you
doing
start,
what they're told to.
exactly,
It's like military. Yeah, you're doing
yeah.
what you're ordered to. Yeah.
But when I worked, I did some work for a woman who represented Scholastic Books. And I met her at a book fair for educators and all. And
Okay.
she was a friend of a friend. And she said, "You want to come do some work for me?" She had a local storage unit that she would go and collect the stuff that she needed for the next fair or whatever. And she had stuff to put up, stuff to sort out, all that. So I go help her. And when I got my paycheck, it had the Paramount logo on it. I was like, but it's Scholastic. And then I started doing, then when I looked further in the paperwork, it had Viacom on it. So
Wow.
Viacom is really way up there. And I think they own Time Warner now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. But you got Viacom, Paramount,
I've got all six
Scholastic.
I got all six pyramids on my wall on my private Facebook page.
Oh, okay,
There's six
cool.
people and all the major companies they own. Disney is one of them. Is one of
Yeah,
the six. They own every freaking thing. It's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And look how much control they have. So
Mhm.
it's being aware of who's controlling the information that you're getting. It's not, we're
Consider the source.
yes,
3
yes,
words that can save your life. Consider the source.
yes.
Yeah.
And then even okay, then you look at movies. So you're looking at, at the same thing where I was just talking about Viacom owning Paramount, and you look at what a lot of the studios now, they only excuse me, they only want to release movies. And I know this because of the movie people that I deal with all the time. They're wanting, people love the special effects, the big booms, the
Tech.
hero, superhero type, what I call the comic book films,
Oh, okay. Okay.
Spider-Man, the DC Comics, and what's the
Superhero
other?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, or the big action films, things
Yes.
like that.
Right.
And you'll notice those are the ones that are coming out from the studios more
Right.
because they know it will draw a crowd. Younger people are drawn to those movies, so they know they'll make the money off of them.
Right.
Whereas if they go and do like a Bridges of Madison County,
That wouldn't sell right now.
yeah, it wouldn't. There was a
Yeah.
time it would have.
All
And
right.
so
Right
you
now we're
get,
looking for heroes. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, exactly. Of
Yeah.
course, nobody's really making many movies now, but
Right.
that's a
That'll change.
another issue. Yeah.
That'll change. Yeah.
But when you realize that even the choices that they make and what they're going to present to the public for entertainment is based on the dollar value
Of what sells.
of
Yeah.
what sells, it's like you're not even getting all the potential enjoyment that maybe you would
Right.
ordinarily demand.
Right.
And
Action is only one type of um, thematic piece. That's only one type of entertainment. There's lots of other types. I mean,
genres,
there's romantic genres. Thank you. That's
yeah,
romantic genres, documentary dramas, historical dramas, or genres. Excuse me, genres. On and on and on that can be equally fascinating without blowing everything up in a furious pace. Absolutely.
yeah. So and it's another form in a way of censorship. I mean, and then you've got
Mhm.
indie filmmakers that are trying to do other
Yeah,
films.
explain what an indie film is for people that don't know that terminology.
Independent filmmakers, and there typically is a certain price line that I don't know. Well, it might be like less than 500,000 or something like that. I don't know. I
Okay.
can't remember where
Well,
the
nutshell
price.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at some films get hundreds of millions of dollars to be made, and then you've got somebody in North Carolina that wants to make a feature film and is trying to raise $15,000, because you've got to pay actors, you've got to pay
bills.
for, you got bills, all kinds of bills to make a film, and they don't. That people, it's not in my back pocket to make it, and you got to have the equipment, and you got to have people, and and indie filmmakers, a lot of times they get people to volunteer. Yes, there are some stars that you can get that will
back it.
Do their,
right.
yeah, they'll take their part at little or no cost, because they believe in helping younger filmmakers. But it's hard.
It's
You still got to bring them in and put them up, and so a lot of stories don't get told because the filmmakers, and then you make it and you have to distribute it.
Yeah, advertising. It's a whole nother bugaboo. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I literally know a man that made a IMAX movie in his basement in Greensboro.
Wow.
He and he made the computers to fix the storage, because 1 gigabyte of his film, the film file, 1 second of film took a gigabyte of space.
Wow, that's a lot of special effect. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, and IMAX, sure, 3D.
IMAX, because it's so huge, and so and now he's working on the dome version, because it's a movie about the Cassini spacecraft going to Saturn. It's called In Saturn's Rings. If you go to the website, you'll see.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm plugging Steven's movie here, but he had to do a lot of fundraising. It took him 10 years to make that film, and he used a lot of volunteers and relatively very little money. All his money went into equipment and paying a few people to do some things. But
so this is a sort of a softer, more generalized form of censorship.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It narrows the playing field for what the audience is exposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you think about publishers. They do the same thing with the books. What's gonna sell? And
or what the publishers are told will sell. Which is another part of censorship. That the general public can be manipulated to want one or more particular things more than the other. Yeah.
And Lord, don't get me started on the music industry.
Yes, that's a classic example of the general taste and purchasing power being manipulated due to censorship and shutting down and favoritism and manipulation in politics and yada yada yada. Yeah.
You're much better finding local bands, support your local
support your local musicians. Yeah.
But from there, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because it really shows how things are going. In fact, let's show you a couple of things first. Where do I want to start? Okay, this one's interesting. So I'll make this big thing. Twitter, we know, has been banning accounts left and right. And this was one example. 250 accounts of journalists, media organizations, and protest organizers in India, at the government's request, Twitter temporarily withheld their accounts.
In what is called a shocking case of blatant censorship. Yeah.
Yes. And it was India turns farmer protest focus to local media. And so it was all into control.
The government's control in India of farmers protesting.
Yes.
They're covering it up. Yeah.
Right. And so is that really Twitter's responsibility? Why is it Twitter's responsibility? Why is the India government stepping in and doing that? What are these farmers?
Who's paying who? You end up with the consider the source. The other word caveat that goes with that is also 3 words: follow the money.
Yes.
Who is paying who?
And the poor My Pillow guy. I mean, he can be annoying, but
yeah.
My Pillow. I mean, anybody that shows up in your bathroom mirror, heaven forbid, go away.
A little creepy. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw my pillow at you.
I'm not going to stand here all night and hold your head down.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. We're cool.
But just guilty by association, supposedly, I guess.
He is. That's the premise. They don't like his famous friends.
Yeah, and he's been permanently banned. Permanently for using a public
platform. Yeah,
it's a public platform, so it's like either it's privately owned or it's not. Yeah,
it's a public platform, but it's privately owned, and that's where there's legal contention about whether or not it can be whether or not censorship should be allowed. Right.
And and I kind of ride the fence where on one side I go, like, people will complain about things on Facebook and they'll go, "Oh, they're changing it again. I can't stand when they don't know that." Well, it's Facebook. It's free. If you want to use it, follow the rules. Go with the flow. But at the same token, it's like, okay, if I don't like somebody, I just won't look at them. I ban them.
Unfollow.
Yeah. It's like, because it's a public platform and you're going to get all kinds of people on there. And I can't tell you how many fake profiles these men in other countries have tried to friend me. And it's like, I look and I see about the same 5 pictures and it's, no, go away.
Right. You become savvy to it. Right.
Yeah. I thought this one was interesting, and it kind of shows both sides of an issue. Margo, you want to read that? Because I know they're getting tired of hearing me.
My latest: when we deplatform hate on social media, it is not censorship, it's accountability. And this is said by Malkia Devich Cyril. She says, free speech debates need to stop trying to protect the white nationalist terror that censors Black voices and start holding them accountable. Change the terms. And you've got pictures of people with burning torches, white guys with burning torches marching at night, and then people of color with signs that say no Nazis, no KK. And there's also a little cutout in here that's a part of the Constitution because it says we the people and the Article 1. So just to tell you the visual for the people that are going to hear this on iTunes and Spotify. So, Iris, please continue.
Well, it's like, oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button, Margo. Yeah, I should be back. I just have to find her. There she is. Okay.
Countdown. There we go.
Yes. All right. So I know that, like, a lot of times, like when a terrorist does something, or when somebody does like a shooting happens or something, the media has said now that they don't want to give names because that gives popularity to that person. Some people want that fame, so they deliberately don't tell names.
They want the fame and the infamy. Right.
Right. And so I get kind of the idea of, if somebody is promoting racism, I get the idea that you don't want to give that a platform. But when are you starting to encroach on free speech? Yeah, and when
are you making moral and cultural judgments, decisions for the audience instead of allowing the audience to learn and grow their own opinions about what is and is not acceptable in their culture. And
Yes.
when you withhold all adversity, that means half the picture of the reality is missing.
And sometimes you can't learn what's good if you don't know what's bad.
This
Don't
is how
make my
spoiled children become spoiled.
yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
that's how that definition arises. They don't know any adversity. They haven't ever been told, quote, no. Your sister made a nice comment here. The
Yeah.
danger the danger to calling something hate speech is that there is a gatekeeper to decide what is hate speech.
Yes.
Exactly. It may not be hate speech. It may be just blunt and honest to someone, or it might be vile and offensive to someone else. You gotta let them, my opinion, you gotta let the audience decide for themselves which way it falls on their ears.
And it's that old saying of, I may not like what you say, but I will defend your right to say it.
Which is a
And
military stance. Yeah.
and keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
That's a very good. Yeah. That's another good expression for that. Absolutely.
Because if you don't know that these people are out there, and then you go through their neighborhood, you could
And
be in danger. Just like if you don't know
the
these
more
people
you
are out.
know, the more you
Yeah,
know, the more you know,
exactly.
the
To me,
safer
it's
you
like
are.
knowledge
Yeah.
is power.
Knowledge is power.
So if they're taking knowledge away from us
They are
by
taking
making these
power away
blanket,
from us.
they're taking power away from us to make our own decisions.
And when we comply to it passively, we are giving away our power, which is, spiritually speaking, a big no.
Right.
Never give away your personal power.
And we
Yeah.
talk about that a lot. If you haven't seen it, go back and look at our forgiveness issue.
Yeah.
Because it's you know you can choose then. If you don't like what those people are saying about hate speech, then you know who to ignore,
You get
or
some,
you
you
listen to
practice
them to
setting
see what
boundaries,
they're saying so you know how to fight against them.
or listen to what they're saying and come up with a third view that wasn't there before. And now you're building on your personal genius
Yay!
because
Heaven
you're learning
forbid we use critical
perspectives.
thinking skills.
That's critical thinking skills, which is also a survival skill that
Yes.
is being bypassed on occasion.
And so then you talk about, then you can get into the thing about the dumbing down of society. And I
Mm,
know for a fact that the schools, there are teachers who try, but in general, the way schools are set up now, they are not teaching critical thinking skills because they're
right,
teaching for the test.
right.
And I have
Yeah.
seen those kids from public schools come into the community college system and they're going, do I need to know this for the test? No, you need to know how to think about it so that you can answer the questions on the test. And they're like,
Right,
I just
right.
want to know what's going to be on the test. The test is going to ask you to come up with your own thoughts. Can you do that?
That's where the essay question freaks people out.
Yeah.
Let me throw in at this juncture a little bit of a devil's advocate.
Okay.
Just like we're espousing, there's two sides to every view.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, I guess you could characterize it as a pro censorship angle in that, for example, in a parental situation, parents have the legal right to limit what information their children are exposed to. For example, an Islamic family can limit what exposure their children have to, say, Jewish or Christian culture, or they want their children to have just Middle Eastern culture and they want to restrict any Western culture exposure to them for those reasons. So in one sense, that is a type of censorship. However, consider the source, consider the context, and also where the money is. But this is more familial than that, family related. In those situations, in across the board, that type of censorship is actually condoned, and it's considered healthy to limit what your child is exposed to ideally, until you feel your child is ready for this new opposing information. Generally speaking, somewhere between the ages of 8 and 15, children get enough social awareness to understand that there are opposing values than the ones that they were originally taught, without throwing them off too much. Depends on the child, depends on the family, depends on the culture. So there is some use on that level of censorship in a parental arena. And I just wanted to throw that out there, just for equality of, there is a protective element in censorship.
Yeah.
There is, and it does serve a purpose to an extent. However, that becomes the legal battle of who gets to decide what is dangerous enough to need protection, what is danger in the first place, and who is stranger danger, and who is entitled to know about this danger and who is not entitled to know about this danger or this controversy or whatever. So that's where your legal battle is who gets to decide. And yeah, the parental version, well, parents legally own their children. Spiritually, they not so much, but legally they do. So they get to choose. Twitter is not my mama. Facebook is not my daddy. They are not my parents. The news are not my parents. They're not my gods. They don't tell me what I should and shouldn't know.
Right.
Big key phrase is when they wrap up a news account, a news report, with the phrase, and that's all you need to know.
Ooh.
That is a big, I would say, yellow flag. It's actually a red flag. It's worse than that. Whenever any news broadcaster, news reporter says da 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 da, and that's all you need to know, right there, there's more that you need to know. There's your hint that there's more to it. Yeah.
In fact, while you're doing that, let me, since we're talking about this stuff, I want to show the little video you put together, which I thought was.
These are the companies that have openly engaged in censorship for the past several years.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and sorry for those who are listening. I'll list them at the end or something when I'm editing for the audio. But
thank you.
Yeah, that but it is when you recognize that they know a lot of times
they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing.
So you need to be aware of that. Another thing, the big thing that really just smacked me in the face this week was, don't know if you've heard about it, but and it's complicated and I'm not real good with it, but I have read it and just gone berserk over it. Okay. It started with GameStop.
Thank you, Deborah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, news and social media, are they, what is it?
Are they censoring or are they promoting propaganda by omission?
Ooh, ooh.
Deborah went there.
She did.
Thank you for that insight, and it is food for thought. It is very much food for thought.
Are there any that
Any that
haven't?
haven't. And Edie, yeah, thank you, Edie. Boom. You hit another nail. We're trying hard to be diplomatic. Duh, if you can't tell. But yes, you're right. Anytime, let's go a little broader with this, Iris, before we shift into where you were going. I like what Edie and Deborah brought up. Are there any medias or any storytellers or any journalists or any reporters of any facts, any human anywhere that isn't biased or censoring? Yes, on the grand scale, yeah. On the grand scale.
When I'm not doing my personal show, yes.
Right. But everybody has their own filter. So when they communicate, you automatically are censoring information based on your own frame of reference. And that extends out to, and I think more specifically towards what Edie is saying. Are there any media companies that haven't censored or promoted a propaganda, whichever one Edie meant? They all do, because they're trying to make money. They're trying to gain power. They're trying to gain control, which I do believe is the energetic plight and journey of almost any Western civilization human. In any conversation, you are trying to gain control. You are trying to gain power. You are trying to get some kind of energetic exchange, whether it's social or financial or whatever. Even me talking right now, I'll own this because I'm dominating the conversation at the moment. Socially, in these few seconds, I've got the most power because I took over the conversation. All right. I'm using it as an example to show that that's what humans do. They compete.
But it's only because I let you, and I can talk all over you if I want to.
Exactly.
I know how to fix that. I've got the buttons over here.
And that is the quintessential diplomacy of being a decent person or a good citizen in a culture, is knowing when to hand over or take over the power when a situation needs, wait for it, balance. Balance. Yes. Yeah. And me and Iris know how to balance each other very well.
Or at least we try. I don't know if it seems that way to everybody else.
That's true. But Deborah and Edie, thank you for creating a segue for me to go down that path a little bit. And Iris, thank you for making space for it. You were going to make a point. So let's shift back.
Yeah. So here was something that just really kind of blew things out of the water for me this week. And it was okay, you've got your major players on the stock market, right?
Yeah.
The guys that are wheeling and dealing on Wall Street, and and you think about it being the 1% or whatever.
Right.
But you also have your day traders, the people at home that don't have as much, but there are different applications they can use and websites they can use where trading is more acceptable and has been made more accessible to
middle
what we
and lower
consider the average
people.
the littler people, maybe the upper half of people,
moderate income people, right?
Yeah. And so there's a group on Reddit. I'm sure there's other groups in other places that will discuss what's going on in the market and get opinions from each other and that sort of thing. And there is a group that saw that GameStop, which is the store where you can go and buy and trade games, like video games and things, their stock has been becoming lower and lower. And it was kind of getting into the predictions that they're just going to fold. Well, some big guys on Wall Street decided to, oh crap, Deborah, help me. I know you know the word, if Margot doesn't.
Monopolize?
No, there's a
manipulate
trading term. It's
does it mean to sandbag?
Kind of. It's like what they do is they borrow
top load
other stocks to basically what they're doing is they're betting against GameStop, the entity in this case, it was Game
GameStop.
Stop, yeah. Stop shop, blah, blah, blah.
Short.
Short,
Short.
yeah, they were trying to short it, but there's another term too. Short sale, yeah. Short sale, and it involves borrowing from somebody else to
Peter to pay
pay,
Paul.
yeah, and then they end up making money off of it, so they can pay back the ones that they borrowed from,
And
and
still have a
still make
profit.
money. And so when it folds, it's like betting against that. Well, these guys on Reddit said,
Figured it out.
no, no, you're not going to do that. And they started putting out information and getting all of these buyers to start buying stock. And literally, the stock went from like $15 a share to like $350 a share. It was
They drove up the price
mind blowing.
because there were so many people seeking the supply and demand. They drove up the demand, so that made the price go up. Yeah,
made the price go up, essentially saving GameStop. The Wall Street traders are like, no! I mean, literally lost billions of dollars from their short sales. So there's an app on iPhone that you can use to do this stock trading, and it's called Robinhood, which is an interesting term for it. But immediately, Apple dropped Robinhood.
Woo.
And it was like people were trying to use it, and it was like it's no longer available on iPhones or on the Apple platform. So people were getting pissed off because they
couldn't trade. Yeah,
they couldn't trade. The little people, and they were leaving it to the big traders. So, and there's lots of information about this online, and I encourage people to go and look at it. But basically, and then the one comment got me. There was one of the guys that was doing that. He owns the Mets, and he was one of the lenders to people that were doing the short sales.
He owns the professional baseball. Professional baseball team, the Mets, which means he's probably a millionaire, billionaire. Yeah.
Billionaire, because
he's a billionaire.
Loaned somebody $2 billion.
He loaned $2 billion. Okay.
Yeah. And he was one of the ones complaining about these guys from Reddit doing their thing.
Blowing out
the And somebody else, this other person got into kind of a Twitter argument with him. And he said, come on, I'm just trying to make a living like anybody else. And I'm like, you're a friggin' billionaire that just lost $2 billion, which obviously isn't, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what this guy has.
Right, which you can find in public.
I'm just trying to make money like everybody else. No, you're trying to make money like somebody that just doesn't make money. You have no...
You're trying to make money that shuts down other people's incomes is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're trying to put other people out of business. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just... Robinhood was selling GameStop stock for the little investors to protect them without the investors' permission. I don't know.
Okay, so the plot thickens. There's even more going on.
Yeah.
Robinhood was selling stock without the investor's permission. That part of her phrase alone tells you that, Deborah, if you can, tell us where you got your information from. Again, consider the source. That's awesome, Deborah. That's really cool. Sounds like the plot got even thicker. Always, there's more to the story than what's being presented up front. Of course, if you're being censored, you're not going to find that out.
Yeah, but you got all these different social media, Reddit, Twitter, Apple, all these different elements, and then the stock market, which is out of touch anyway.
Right.
And you see all the players that are in it, And it's like it was censorship all the way around. No matter how you looked at it and who was talking, they were saying, no, you can't use this app. And the app's going, no, you can't. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing with your money or whatever, and then
You're talking about withholding information, period.
the New York Stock Exchange. I think it was it NASDAQ or the NYSE?
That would be the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, NYSE.
Yeah, but I couldn't remember if it was NASDAQ or them. But I think it was the New York Stock Exchange. There's a woman that's at the head of it, I believe. Anyway, she said, if and what they've done is they've moved from GameStop to another stock. And she has said, if we see this trend continue where they're picking, where you've got these small groups that are picking stocks that they want to save,
right,
and rescue, we will shut down the stock exchange.
Oh, see, now you're talking about world economy, because all stocks all around the world are based on New York and then Tokyo.
And then it's like we'll investigate it. We'll stop it if we have to. We'll pull their stock. And
you're now talking about an international incident.
Threats.
Yeah, she's threatening an international incident. Your sister Deborah has given us even more cool info. Go ahead and read that, Iris.
David Portnoy lost $700,000 because of Robinhood. He tweeted this about himself yesterday morning. David Portnoy is founder of Barstool News. And then she said others were also tweeting screenshots of their Robinhood accounts showing what had happened. Interesting. So who's playing who?
Tweeting. Gee, Twitter's in on it. I wonder if you dig back far enough, consider the source, follow the money. I wonder if Twitter is in the pocket of one of these factions, or if one of these factions is in Twitter's pocket. Financially, somebody owes somebody a debt, or they're creating a debt for future use, one or the other. Yeah. So these are our speculations. These are just our speculations.
It's fun to toss this stuff around, and we don't.
It's critical thinking. It's using critical thinking for fun.
And something's going on. Let's see. Stephen Colbert. Oh, that's terrible. Those poor hedge fund managers. Now might be a good time to invest in whoever manufactures the world's tiniest violins. Hey, do you know what this is?
Oh, it's an exercise. What is it?
No, it's the world's tiniest disco violin.
I haven't seen that one yet. That's good. I've only seen that one, and then the record, the world's smallest record.
Oh God! Yeah, usually it's like disco violin.
You got to go like that. Yeah, Travolta.
I know, I'm showing my age. You know.
Everybody knows who John Travolta is. He's an icon.
Oh God!
Edie, that was terrific. Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, and I guess the whole point, because we do need to wrap it up, we're way over time, but is to get people thinking and looking and who's and where does all this serve you personally?
Right. Or where does it take you?
Yeah.
Where did it come from, and where is it ultimately taking you? Yeah.
Yeah, because we all have our own minds and
opinions,
opinions, and we don't want to give anybody rent in our brains that doesn't need it.
Which is giving away your power.
Yes.
Yes.
But we also, you need to be aware of who's pulling strings in different places, so you know how easy it is to manipulate society in general. The amendment, only cases of obscenity and hate speech that incites others to commit illegal acts can be censored. I feel everyone deserves the right to their freedom of speech and other rights equally. If we could learn to be more tolerant of others and allow them the same rights we claim for ourselves, what a better world this would be. And he says, love your show. Thank you,
Oh,
Daryl.
thank you, Daryl. That was well said. Very well
Yeah.
said. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So,
and food for thought there. You got to define what is obscenity and what is hate speech. But inciting violence or inciting committing illegal acts actually would be a bit clear. Like you said, Daryl, that would be pretty definitive. But then it would be after the fact.
Side, if somebody's there going, we need to get together, let's get the villagers together with their pitchforks and torches. You don't have to listen. Why do people listen to that shit?
Yeah, just because somebody's inciting, what is inciting? Just because somebody says exactly, somebody tells you to go do something illegal or violent or whatever, you're over the age of 18.
Like my mama used to say, just because your friends jump off a bridge, are you going to do it too?
Mama knows. Bingo, bingo. I keep remembering. We need a little bell.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Get a little noisemaker going here. But absolutely, yeah. And just because everybody else is doing it, should you? What I was going to say was about the only time that censorship serves a purpose is in a parental role where a superior knowledge is trying to help a newbie, a complete newbie, as in child, as in baby, as in toddler, not as college freshman kind of newbie. That's too old. But in a parental role, to limit them, they know better. But in a parental capacity, yes, censorship serves its purpose for a while. But I've yet to think of another reason where censorship is useful. Anytime somebody thinks for you, withholds information before you ever learn about it, that is a red flag for an agenda.
Fahrenheit 451, baby.
And they are not telling you what their agenda is. So, and that's cruel. We're talking about cruel. And I'm saying cruel, Cruel, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's it's unethical. Sometimes the word cruel sounds like cool.
No.
So I'm trying to find another word for that. Yeah. But yeah, it's unethical to withhold information in a non-parental situation. That's my bottom line.
All right.
Yeah.
So with that, folks, I think we're ready to wrap it up. I think we need to.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Blessings and namaste.
Yes.
Have a beautiful evening and come play with us again next Wednesday night.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you, Miss Iris.
Thank you very much. Love you, dear.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Love you guys.
Thank you for joining Nights of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details, www.facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo. Show is copyrighted 2021 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears, all rights reserved.